Evan, and welcome to the Mindship Podcast. How are we doing?
Dude, it's a Friday evening and I get to spend some time with you. Man, how can I not be awesome at this second?
Oh wow! I mean, that's probably up there with the best ever introductions going. So
Yeah.
we're already winning. We're already winning.
We're moving in the right direction, right?
Yeah, definitely. So I guess what I tend to do, anyways, when I get people on the show, I tend to ask them two things. First thing, I need you to pick four numbers from me, from 1 to 100, please.
Four numbers.
Yep.
Man, this is the worst thing. Mathematics. 15,
Okay.
21,
Yep.
98,
Okay.
and 100.
100. Perfect. We'll come back to them later on down the line.
Now I'm nervous.
I mean, you should be. No. So I guess, yeah, Ben, so when we ask people to come onto the show, I kind of ask them what their log line is. And can you remember the log line, what you said, your summary?
Yeah, so I mean the thing is you challenged me to go and think about this log line, right? Because usually in the business that I am is like I try to tend to think of what other people's, like, what is their motivations or what makes them tick. And I'm going to bend the rules a little bit because there's this quote that I really enjoy and that I kind of try and live my life by. And I want that to be kind of the essence of my log line. I'm going to quote it to you. It's from Ed Catmull. I think he's the current CEO of Pixar, or used to be, but he wrote this book called Creativity Inc. In there, he says there's a sweet spot between the known and the unknown where originality happens. The key is to linger there without freaking out. Now, the freaking out is what I added in. And that is kind of what I live my life by, or my log line, because I tend to find myself in situations and then, I tend to lean into them. And it's usually when I'm in that situation, I'm going like, what the hell did I just do to myself? And you know what, for me, when I get through it, it's really around where, great things happen when you put yourself in that discomfort. And in fact, that quote also comes from the whole line of where creativity comes from, because I've spent a fair amount of my life trying to figure out, what's the spark. I mean, I studied art for a while, and I was an ad agency for even a longer time. And sometimes you think the spark just comes out of nowhere. What is creativity? And I think when you push yourself into those spaces where you start feeling uncomfortable, that's where true creativity happens. So
Okay.
I think I'll leave it there. I hope I did my homework right.
No, that was perfect. That was perfect. So I guess, let's start at the beginning. So, and when I say beginning, I mean right at the beginning. So when you was in school then, and kind of the teacher would come up to you and go, so what is it you want to be when you grow up? What was the answer you would give the teacher?
There was two answers, and it's not going to be super exciting. The one was I wanted to be a cop. I wanted to be a police officer, but specifically one that rides a motorcycle. Because back in my day, I mean, you're probably too young to remember this, but we had these. It was called California Highway Patrol. These two cops on motorbikes, chips. But even before that, and this is a story I actually tell people when they ask me this, because I think there's underlying something really interesting about it, is that what I really wanted to be, and my mom was like not impressed when I said this, is I wanted to be a garbage collector.
Okay.
Now, the thing is, I have to explain to you, right? So I grew up in South Africa in the Johannesburg area. And we usually in the mornings, we had these guys like roll up once a week to come pick up the garbage. And it was usually a bunch of guys hanging off the side of the truck, and this always truck just came racing down the street, and all the kids would go out to go watch these guys. Because, I mean, on one side, the driver wasn't really like too perturbed about the guys trying to grab and throw the garbage in the truck. So they were running next to the truck. But the thing is, they were singing and they were whistling, and there was so much energy going on. And it left a lasting impression on me. And then also, I think, like, reflecting back on it, and I actually spoke to someone else about this recently too, is that, I mean, here's these guys. I mean, they're probably not really getting like paid a lot of money, but they're taking the situation and they're taking this job that they have, and they're making just the most out of it. They're making it a total immersive experience for someone observing them. And I think they left a lasting impression. But I did move past that. I didn't end up being a garbage collector, though.
Okay, that's a really good explanation actually. And it's really actually nice to hear. It's kind of, I guess one of the things which just jumps out to me now is kind of making the best out of everyday experiences.
Exactly.
And
And I think, yeah, I mean, it's sometimes I think a thing that we struggle with, right? I mean, sometimes you work on projects and you do stuff that you don't really enjoy, and it's also been kind of a mantra, and also aligns with this quote that I read, is that, I mean, I did a lot of work for banks, for a specific bank in South Africa a long time. It was a great client, and initially it was like, damn it, man, I'm going to sell another credit card, man. But then I started realizing that, like, I can take every brief that I receive and inject a little bit something of myself or my team into that project, and that's kind of that the garbage collector's coming alive there. It's like, make it your own, make it something.
yeah,
So
I
yeah.
really like that. I really like that actually. I guess kind of what I mean. Obviously, me and you have spoke a lot on kind of back and forth on LinkedIn and stuff, and we've engaged a little bit. But maybe for the listeners who don't know who you are, maybe you could give us a bit of a whistle stop tour of kind of
Oh.
where you've come from and kind of how you've got to where you are right now.
So if you recognize this dodgy accent, you'll probably know that I'm from South Africa. Um, for all the good and bad there is. Grew up in the Johannesburg area, and I ended up doing a whole bunch of different things. I actually ended up going to the military. A lot of people like raise their eyebrows when they hear that, but then I ended up studying graphic design for a year, and then I swapped over to do my studies in fine arts. I became a sculptor, and kind of, I mean, that had a huge impact on me, actually doing fine arts, to study like some of the artists out there. And then this whole internet thing started happening. I mean, I remember registering for Facebook back in the day, and now, like, look at where it is now. And I started getting interested in this whole idea of the internet and development. Became a developer, but because I was older, no one wanted a real old fart developer, so I fell into the world of advertising. So I spent a fair amount of time in advertising, and I kind of grew and honed my talents there. And it developed me a lot, because I went in as a developer, coding a lot of websites for all kinds of crazy websites, from Nissan to, I don't know, like, I mean, I'm trying to think, like Visa, and I did some work on Adidas and all kinds of drinks and stuff. And I actually ended up getting into user experience design. And yeah, and that kind of opened up the world for me. And yeah, I kind of look at myself now as an experience designer. So I fell from ad agency and then ended up into one of the big four. But also, probably what I need to mention is a few years ago, 5 years ago, I got invited to attend or actually speak at a conference here in Warsaw, Poland. First of all, I didn't know where the hell Poland was. I thought it's a country. I mean, I hope there's no Polish people listening to this going to come kick my ass, because I thought it was like a country full of grumpy Russian-speaking people. And then I came here, and I did not freeze my ass off. I had an awesome time. There was like so much talent here and like energy, and I also met my future wife. So a few years later, I've now moved to Warsaw, Poland. So I'm, and all that happened while I was at one of the big four firms, working as an experienced strategist or a consultant. And then a year ago, I decided to go on my own. So I'm this dodgy South African guy working from Warsaw, Poland, trying to do his own business. I hope that's a good recap. I jumped around a little bit, but it's
No,
kind of my life.
that was awesome. That was awesome. I guess I kind of just want to jump in a little few things really.
Yeah,
So
shoot.
I mean, obviously, if you're okay, we can name who one of the big four is, if that's all right with you.
Oh yeah, it's good. We parted on good terms, so there won't be any legal action.
Okay, this is great. This is great. So I guess you worked with Deloitte, and it was
Yeah.
kind of experienced strategist, and I guess there's a few things actually what I want to really pull out here. So maybe the first one is kind of experienced designer. So I class myself as I class myself as an architect of experiences. An architecture of experiences, and an experienced designers, I think is a term what's used and organic and flexible, and people turn it into something what it is and what it isn't, and
Yeah.
it's what's your definition of kind of that?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I mean, I'll make the first statement because, I mean, a lot of my mates will probably hate me for saying this, but I really feel uncomfortable when people start trying to define things. But I'll unpack that. So it's not like trying to throw it back at you. Because when I started off in the world of user experience, my title was information architect, and that's back in the day. It's even before user experience didn't, like, that title didn't even exist. And the information architects spent so much time, like every conference was about, like, how do we define information architecture, guys? And a good mate of mine, like my mentor, said, like, yeah, just like let's just stop defining the damn thing and let's do the damn thing. So I kind of hesitate to talk about what I believe the definition of experience design is, but I'll say this. So while I was at Deloitte, I fundamentally started there in the user experience design space, worked into the area of service design. And at some stage, we decided that, hey, service design, UX, we need to term this something, like there's all these buzzwords. Let's call it experience design. And I was actually, for me, it made sense. But then moving on from there, and while I was still at Deloitte, I got involved with a bunch of crazy people. And actually, they hosted an event called the College of Extraordinary Experiences, where I got to meet a bunch of awesome people. Amongst them, a guy, author called Joe Pine, who wrote the Experience Economy Handbook or book. And they refer to experience design. And when they refer to experience design, they talk about staging of experiences, immersive experiences, and also the effect that experiences can actually have transformational effects on people who engage with these experiences. So at the moment, like, very good friends of mine are saying, but yes, UX and service design do build into this. But I kind of feel like if you talk about experience design and architecting of experiences, you want to take it that step further. And then, man, I'd love to hear what you think. Like, I don't know how you feel about this. Like,
So
where do you stand on this topic?
So it's a good question. I think for me, so I see experience design as through the eyes of the user. So service design is the connection of various things, the actors, the engagement between process, system, and wherever else. And I see experience design as through the eyes of the person going on that immersive experience. So it's, say for instance, if I was going into, I don't know, College of Extraordinary Experiences, that for me is designed through that. It's through my eyes, it's my experience, and I will get something unique out of that, which other people will get something unique out of them. I think the term experience design I don't think it needs to be defined. I don't think it needs to be. I think it needs to be
It needs to be done.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's really interesting. So I work for a consultancy company, and I'm trying to bring in kind of true immersive experience design. Now, I've been doing probably experience design since I started, but I never really knew it as experience design. It was just kind of something what I've always done, and it's only probably over the last probably three years where I've kind of gone, actually, what I've been doing is immersive experience design, and I've won a couple of awards for stuff, and fundamentally because of how I've designed experiences. But it's an interesting one. We've had Paul on from College of Extraordinary Experiences. I speak to Joe quite a fair bit actually, and he's coming on as well. But the book the book what he mentions is great, kind of experience economy. But I mean, I don't really know, and I'm not really because I fall within the learning aspect. There's this thing of learning experience designer. I'm like, you're not. You're an experience designer, and the byproduct is learning.
Yeah.
And the thing, what I think is, people want to take this term, experience designer, and add a couple of words onto it and make it something different. I'm like, you don't need to.
Exactly. And the thing is, I'm also guilty of it because, and this is a conversation. that is ongoing between myself and a lot of my friends around this idea of experience design, and the way that I think what drives this is that we all have different understandings of what we see as experience design. Because when I now, after being exposed and working with Paul and meeting Joe and them, I look at experience design in a completely different light. Whereas before, I looked at it from the perspective of service design and UX and these kind of things, right? But I had a conversation the other day with a good friend of mine, is also an artist, and I was kind of contemplating this, and we were discussing the exact same topic. And then she kind of like shocked me back into reality and said to me, Werner, everything is an experience. It might be a good experience, it might be a bad experience, but it's a damn experience.
Yep.
Don't overthink it. So I think when we start getting involved as designers and start designing with intent, where we want to try either create opportunity for behavior change, or do something with intention, I think that's where the little spark of experience design lies.
Yeah, I completely agree. And it actually, me and Paul had this conversation yesterday, and I said everybody's an experienced designer. It's just whether you're empowered to kind of continue these positive or these negative experience. But fundamentally, everybody is an experienced designer. You do it every day.
Yeah.
And I guess this is the reason why you can remember your favourite teacher's name or the bully's name, because fundamentally you've had an experience which has had an impact on you.
Yeah.
And that's why even many, many years on, you can still remember your favourite teacher.
Yeah, and I mean, to dive into this, I mean, trying to hook onto something, because not to define hook onto something. I think when it comes down to experiences, to experience design, is that I tend to lean towards defining or categorizing what I believe is experience design as tapping into, number one, it's memorable, and number two, it's meaningful. And when I say meaningful, it has some kind of emotional impact on you. So, for example, if I go out now and I go play on my PS2 and I have a good time, okay, that's a great experience, but it's not necessarily memorable.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't want to run down games, because there's really memorable games that I've played in my life. But I think it's like, when you lean back, and you just said it, right? When you lean back and you think back of a teacher, and you think, and that name pops into your mind, that teacher created a memorable experience. And that is, for me, the essence of great experience design.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's all about that emotional anchor and that jerk.
Yeah.
And sometimes, we need that. We need that context change, that emotional jerk. And for me, that's where true immersive experiences have their value through and through. But I guess, yeah, I mean, before we even get into it a little bit more, I mean, there's a few things which we overlooked, and I kind of want to give a massive shout out to. So you have a block. So I remember you've got kind of 2 podcasts. You've got
2.
Block Thinking, and I think you've got Catching the Next Wave.
Yeah.
So go for it.
Okay, so this is, I mean, come on, we're on your podcast here, dude. But Block Thinking is a project between myself and another expat here in Poland, where we touch a little bit on, and we try and interview as many Polish and Central European talent. And that's been a core focus for me, because I'm quite passionate about this region. And then Catching the Next Wave, I'm not really involved in the show anymore, but I'm super proud to have been in the first 2 seasons with my good mate Aga Shostek.
Yep.
She and her husband Ukash has actually now pushed into the 3rd season with it. And that is also, so when people listen to this and they think like, what the hell are these guys talking about around transformational experiences, breaking through barriers and that kind of stuff, Catching the Next Wave really tries to focus on that, and has been speaking to a whole bunch of people who tap into this core idea of experience design. So those are the 2 projects. Super proud of both of them. The one needs a bit more work than the other one, I guess.
I personally think both are awesome. So I think I came across Catching the Next Wave first, and then came across Block Thinking second. I think that was the way it came to me personally. Just because it was that domino effect. One thing leads you to another, and before you know it, you're 20 episodes in.
You probably can attest to this. And we were laughing before the recording about how we set up our gear and getting ready for this. I think this whole thing of podcasting and the whole idea of audio and sound is super immersive and super interesting. And I think that's one of the reasons where myself and Aga said, okay, cool, Aga, you take this catching the next wave. And I'm like super jealous because she got to interview one of my heroes, Seth Godin, recently, but she's really going for that because she's focused with Ukash really getting into the depth. But block thinking is like my little baby. It's my little empty canvas where I really want to, like, from show to show, try and experiment. So I probably pick up a few people here and lose a few people there because it's kind of this canvas. I don't know, like, how you feel about your show, where you're going to drive it, because I think you're also starting this up, right? It's also going for you into a direction that I get this feeling that you're really experimenting with it.
Yeah, so for me, my life is all about experiments, and if I can do a project where I can try it and fail it, it's fine. I've learned, try it and fail it, it's fine. But actually, it allows me poetic license to try new things and speak to people who. So I guess for me, the reason why I think I stay ahead of the curve in learning development, which is what I'm in, is because I never look at what's going on in learning development. I always look at other industries and other ideas and kind of look at them and go, actually, how can I remold these? How can I stretch them and make them something what they're not meant to be and turn it into something different?
Man, that is such good advice, man. Like, sometimes we tend to drink our own Kool-Aid too much, man, and you forget. And like when you start looking at other industries, and that has been one of the good things about being at Deloitte, was the fact that as an experienced designer sitting in this big damn company, but then being able to look across the border at some other industries and looking how other people are operating, looking at this whole global aspect of things. I can really tip my hat to what you're saying there. But then also when you look into the experience design community, the community that we refer to, that Paul Valencia kind of introduced me into, like, here I am, I'm kind of this kind of digital guy, if I have to really classify myself, having great conversations with magicians and authors and academics. Man, it's super I can't encourage people more to go beyond the UX conference and go and just check out other things.
Yeah, I mean, I've not been lucky enough to go to the college just yet, but I guess, for me, I'm trying to raise as much awareness as possible. I've got you on, I've had Paul, I've got Claus on. I think Joe's been there as well, Joe Pine.
So he's the headmaster, man.
Yeah, so it's like, these people are, for me, this is my direction. This is where I will end up going.
Yeah. We need to hook you up, man. We need to get you to the castle.
Yeah, it's one of them things. It's kind of, for me, where I am right now is a good stopgap. But for me, I want to do something where I sit back and go, holy shit, we created that. That is something beautiful and something different and unique. And it's just, I've got so many ideas of where I want to go as well. But that's probably one of my biggest problems, actually, is I'm a very good ideator and a creative thinker, but sometimes I have too many things.
Yeah,
which is interesting.
I've got some advice for you. If you allow me to give you this advice.
Yeah, sure.
I might be a bit of an asshole saying this, but I wanted to tell the story anyway. So here's the advice, and it goes along with a little story. So we've mentioned Joe Pine. I mean, he's quite a tall guy. And he's quite a serious guy too. I mean, he's actually very cool. I like him. We were at the college at this event, this conference where we talk about experience design, and there was, I think it was in the second or in the third year of the event, and he was standing in front of all the participants, and he was giving kind of a rundown of the experience economy. And we were talking, and also at the college we have these 3 pillars, or the event consists out of the 3 pillars is rapid prototyping, flexible focus, and co-creation. I mean, you can hear the design thinking DNA there. And he's kind of talking about this, and at some stage he was explaining that it's better to go into action than sitting and waiting, right? And my friend Aga, but I just think she was like gripped by, like, she had to say something, and she shouted out in this Polish accent, "Do not talk." And for a moment, Joe is like completely like, what the hell is going on here? Like, this woman telling me to shut up, or what's happening? And we're all like awkward. And then we realize what Aga was actually saying is like, do, comma, not talk. So this is my advice to you, is that, and this is also a mantra that I have for myself, is that go out there and test, do stuff. And I think it's the best way to get going. Like you're doing with this podcast, man, you're doing.
Yeah, it's an interesting podcast. I think season 1, when I dropped it, I did it like a Netflix binge, kind of boom, out of the blue. There you go, there's 22 episodes. Enjoy. Yeah. And it was an experiment. It was like, I'll try it, see what happens, and then the kind of people like, when season 2 come in, when's that happening? And
that's brilliant.
And it feels good. It does feel good. It's nice to know. But I've done that with a lot of things. I've done that. I have over here in the UK. I have the MindChimp kind of meetup, a quarterly meetup, where I get probably around about 50 to 100 people show up.
That's great.
And it's all about, for me, it's all about giving a stage to people so they can hear their ideas, not necessarily well-known names, but, the people who don't have this sounding board, and giving them a moment to be able to do that, and kind of let them shine, I guess, is probably the best way to describe it.
That's power, man. That's power. I enjoy that. I respect that. Giving other people the stage, because I think sometimes, we want to listen to our own voice rather than like looking next to us. And there's some really talented people floating around, and I think that's also a reason. I mean, and this is not really once again a little throwback to my show, but block thinking. Now, I mean, a lot of people don't realize, because it's quite a closed community here in Poland. There's some really super talented people floating around here. And don't get me wrong, it's not like I'm Mr. Savior here. There's some really great Polish podcasts, Polish initiatives, a lot of Polish events. I'm going to one in June where, it's a whole bunch of people coming from all over the world to come speak at this product camp, Gdynia, as it's called. But the thing is, sometimes what happens is that people will communicate with each other in Polish. And I found that when I start interviewing these guys in English to expose the talent that is here, it's super rewarding. It's just rewarding being able to connect to some of these guys. So I kind of feel where you're coming from. It's a great way to connect with people, and it's also a great way to see what other people are doing.
Yeah, and I think, at the end of the day, for me, I enjoy conversation. I enjoy just listening to people and listening to it, hearing where they're at and the problems, and kind of understanding, the design thinking, kind of empathizing and listening and thinking, oh, you could do this and you could do that. And it's your block thinking is a great testament to kind of to that. And it's one of the things I think, we get something out of it. It's not, but what we get out of it is great conversations.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I feel guilty because I think I get more out of it than the poor guest gets, because I feel enriched. Because it's a tough thing, right? One of the big things that I struggle with, that I keep on playing over in my head, is that, and I think that's something that we completely struggling with at the moment. It's one of the big topics, is that I feel like a lot of things are so polarized at the moment. Like there's black or white. It's either like this or like that. And the only way that you can really start to see what's going on is by having conversations with people and trying to understand their perspective. And I think this kind of platform, and of course the challenge there is people like you and me who create the platform. We need to make sure that there's enough representation everywhere, but damn it, you can screw up easily, because I've become very sensitive about how many males and females do I have on my show. Right? You have to have that balance. Right. I mean, I think you're hitting it quite nicely as well, because I snooped around in your show. I think 2 shows ago you had this brilliant lady also sharing some thoughts and ideas on your show, and it was really interesting. So there again, there's the platform. Look what can happen.
Yeah, and that's it. If you can get 2 people who would never meet each other in a standard world connecting, then job done. It's kind of, it's that thing. It's interesting that you mentioned Seth as well. I've tried to get him on my show twice, and every time he kind of just vetoes me. but I will continue to try. I will be
Keep
that.
on going, man.
This is
He's
it.
actually he's a super accessible guy, but he's also super honest. Like the people book him way in advance. I think when when Aga booked him, we were still doing season 2, I think. So it was a few months in that we had to kind of pre-book him. But at some stage, he comes around. Like I've seen him do a few interviews here and there with people. So yeah, keep on slogging, man.
This is it. This
But,
is it. At some point,
yeah.
he's got to get bored of seeing my emails, right?
It's like, I just want to get rid of this guy, man.
So, I mean, let's talk about Seth actually. So, you've done the All MBA. Is that? Am I right in saying that you've gone through that experience? Is that something?
Exactly. I've done a few of Seth's stuff, man. Seth has got a lot of my money, right?
Okay. Okay.
So, man. So, I mean, jokes aside, Alt MBA. So, the way I describe Alt MBA, when people ask me, hey, Werner, what kind of transformational experiences have you had in your life? So, the College of Extraordinary Experiences was definitely for me a transformational experience. And reflecting back, doing Seth Godin's Alt MBA, damn, that was also a transformational experience. And the interesting thing about that is that the college is a very physical, it's real life, tangible, in a Polish castle. But the Alt MBA happens on a digital platform. It happens through Skype and Zoom calls and through Slack, purely digital. But the way that he's put this thing together, it's really, it brings out the best in the people that actually attend. You face your own demons, and for me, that was really a transformational experience. And then also, I mean, and the great thing is that he's not. I mean, he's not. It's not about him. It's really about him connecting other people. So, I mean, that is the Alt MBA. And then I've also done the Bootstrappers workshop, where he helps people with because I mean, there's like a few things you can do, right? When you do stupid things like quit your job at Deloitte, is that you can either start a little agency yourself, or you can do freelance.
Okay.
Or you could bootstrap a business. And for me, starting an agency, man, I said to someone else the other day, I don't want to be running around trying to feed mouths now. Like that's too stressful. Like being the sales guy trying to, mortgage my house to pay for salaries and rent. And then I think the world of freelancing is also, it's very tough for an old fart like me, being a hired gun. I mean, I kind of am that a little bit, but how sustainable is that? So I'm kind of exploring, trying to figure out, and I haven't done it yet, is how to bootstrap a business. Because, I mean, bootstrapping really comes down to starting a business up without having a lot of funds to do that. So how can I find that audience I can serve? And how can I actually start gaining momentum with my business? So that was really helpful to go through that experience. And then the last experience I went through is the podcast fellowship. It's also something that Seth puts together with a lady called Alex De Palma. She helps produce Akimbo. And I got to sneak into the first edition of this fellowship, where people talk about how to do podcasts and how to edit them, but just spending a bit of time with them and seeing how they do things like Akimbo. It's like, man, it's worth a while.
Right. Okay. I mean, I'm a keen lover of Seth's work. I came across tribes after I built a tribe, which was really interesting for me, because then I sat back and went, it makes sense. Yeah. I mean, just kind of building up on kind of, when you talk about your business. So this Mindship podcast, this has a meetup. It has a community built on the back of it. And it was always one of the things where I didn't know whether it was going to be a business, whether it was going to be a brand. What was it? It was kind of, it's an interesting thing. But what I have noticed is more work's come off the back of it when I said it wasn't a consultancy, which is it's crazy, right? It's like when you need it to bring in the money, it doesn't. But as soon as you go, you know what, I'm good, I'm enjoying my work, it's fine. It can be a brand, it can be whatever the people want it to be. All of a sudden, people are like, can we work with you? What can you do for this?
Yeah, I mean, you spot on there. I mean, Seth also wrote this book recently. This is marketing, But I mean, the one thing that I like about him is he stays on message about what he's trying to say within these books. And I think Tribe, a lot of things that from Tribes, I mean, I haven't read that one, but it bleeds into a lot of his other work. And what you're saying there is that if you, and it's kind of his premise, is that if you want to serve someone, a community with generosity, so you genuinely want to do something. And I think this is what you're doing with your show. You're serving a community, you're bringing them together. That means that you're creating a niche audience for yourself. And that means you can start doing business. And the weird thing is I've kind of reflected on what Seth is doing with a lot of his work, is that you can see around the Alt MBA and all the other workshops that he's running, and also Akimbo, if you listen to that, his podcast, you can see that he's definitely building a really niche audience around his work too. So he knows who he's serving. And the other nice thing about that is that sometimes people are not that into you. That is not your audience, right? Don't try and be everything to everybody. Focus on the people that want to hear from you, the people that you can serve. And I think that's also where it becomes rewarding to do the work you do, is that there are people who are willing to pay for it, appreciate it. But yeah, it takes a lot of work to get there, I guess.
Yeah, and especially when it becomes this side project, this side thing on top of like life and enjoying life and being in a moment and then work and stuff. It's a scary. I think it's going it alone feels something what I'm not really sure I would do. I enjoy being able to go, I quite like the sound of that project, I can help, or it's an interesting one. But
nothing wrong with that, dude. Like I took the dip. I made the leap a few months ago, and I mean, we did a show, myself and my founder of Block Thinking. We did a conversation about this recently, where we said, it's one thing to chase your passion, but you also need a job. So you need to pay the rent. You need to do all kinds of things, right? So, like sometimes, I mean, when it becomes too hard to chase the dream, then you need to start thinking about what you need to do. I mean, in my case, I had to make the leap because I came to a crossroad where at Deloitte, it was, Deloitte is a tough company. I learned so much there. I'm still humbled. I'm still friends with the guys there. But I knew that I got to a point where it was all in or nothing.
Yeah.
So if I went all in, there wasn't time to do side project there, So, and there's nothing wrong with going all in. For me at that stage, it just didn't fit. Who knows what happens in the future? But yeah, I mean, I think for the time being, like yourself, Danny, if you can chase your dreams, enjoy what you're doing, and then doing all this on the side to keep it going and grow it, man, you're golden.
Hopefully, I think one of the biggest things for me, especially for season 2, is kind of surrounding myself with people like you, like-minded people who can challenge me a little bit, and we go, okay, I didn't see that, and I just like the idea of being in an atmosphere or an environment where people get it, and it feels like it's I can see maybe a blog post what you've done, or a post I'm like, okay, and it's kind of that self-development as well, and being able to have the conversations what you really enjoy rather than the ones which you might not enjoy as much, let's say.
Exactly. That's the thing. I think what I really enjoy, especially with the community and also meeting people like yourself, is that I don't feel like there's people who have all the answers, because like when you have a guru in the community, it's like it starts becoming a little bit of a less enjoyable for me, because I don't necessarily see myself as a guru. I learn every day. I mean, I screw up every day, and being part of a community where you can actually start learning from people and you share ideas and you challenge ideas, I think that is where I want to be. And I think that's also why I've kind of dipped into this whole experience design community, because I think people are on a quest to understand this better. When you start talking about transformational experiences, how do you transform people? How the hell do you do that? I can't think of any gurus out there, and I know some really interesting and talented people. But when we get together, we shift that on the side and we start talking about what, how we see it as individuals. And through that, I think the knowledge starts growing. And yeah, I mean, rambling on here like an idiot, but kind of what I feel about it, because I think what has happened for me a lot in the UX industry, and it's all good because we need people trained up and we need senior people to guide people, but I just found at some stage there was too many gurus, man.
Yeah, yeah. I completely agree with that. I think, and the thing is this being a guru is this kind of self-feeding loop, because you need to be the guru, and you need to, eventually I think what you see with gurus is kind of they attach yourself to maybe a slogan or something, and then because they become known for this slogan, or they become known for being this person, it then fixes them into a fixed mindset, because they get into a position where the back's against the wall and they can't go, actually, hands up, I was completely wrong, and that's it.
I mean, and maybe it will happen in this community too. I mean, who am I to I might be sitting here talking a whole bunch of nonsense, and then 2 weeks later I'll write a book and then become a guru. Yeah. So let's see what happens. You can hold me to this.
I think writing a book's good. I think, being the guru is different to writing a book. I think writing a book is you, again, giving back to the people and sharing your expertise. I think being a guru is where we go, kind of, my ideas are best and I shoot down all other ideas. I don't think that's a guru. I think it's just how sometimes you see the behavior of that sometimes.
Exactly. I mean, I'm also generalizing here because, I mean, I've met some great people.
Yeah. No,
and it's a great community to be exposed to. But sometimes, I kind of felt like that for a while, especially when I was in South Africa. I felt like, the UX community became too cliquey, and, and it felt like it was excluding people rather than including people. And that's what kind of drove me to go in this quest. To say, okay, cool, how can I mix things up a little bit? And here I am.
And it's got to be good to be here. I think, it is interesting when you see that kind of that you can see it on LinkedIn all the time, same people liking each other's posts and kind of this upvoting system of this community of practice, and you go, actually, where is the value in that? You like him for liking's sake, but actually, what are you giving back to the world?
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is also where it starts becoming interesting, and the thing is, I mean, I want to also say that maybe with me saying this, and this is the challenge with being Werner, is that maybe I'm also being asshole or cliquey. But I think what Deloitte's also taught me is that, once you go into a big four firm like that, you're not talking to the middle marketing manager anymore. You're talking to the CEO of a company, CEOs of big banks. And when you walk into that big bank, you need to start talking their language. And it's not about, I mean, people might say, the CEO just wants to look at numbers. The CEO cares about everything in his business, but he wants to see how that all fits together. And I'll never forget when I started out in user experience design, we had this Venn diagram. Hell, we always have a Venn diagram, right? And I think that it was like 3 circles. It was, I mean, this is still from information architecture. It was content, business, and users. And we started focusing so much on the whole content and user side of things, fighting for the user, which was relevant, right? Because we had to battle these crazy developer guys. But I think we forgot that we actually won the battle a long time ago. Maybe not. And we totally forgot about the business side of things. So, for example, a good friend of mine in Gdynia spoke about the event before, where a lot of user experience design people are now dropping into the role of product managers and these kind of things. And that's great, right? But when you drop into that role and you start thinking about this, you need to start thinking about how does this actually become a profitable business that people actually want to engage with your customers. And I think, it also segues into the whole idea of this experience economy and experience design that we're talking about. Because as much as there's an immersive experience that you want to build, you still need to build a sustainable business there too. So this is also something that myself and Paul have been speaking about a long time, is that how do we take this whole idea of the experience economy? And you can see a lot of this coming to fruition. So for example, I mean, on big business, you can see a lot of the experience economy things starting to happen in tourism. And I think my prediction is the next is events. I've been involved in a bit of event design recently as well, and people are pushing the limits on where they can take events.
Oh, we so need to.
Yeah, I mean the thing is, who's keen on another boring conference, right? Let's mix it up a little bit, And these things are expensive, and you want to have an experience when you go there, right? So I mean, change is happening there, and how do we bring this whole idea of experience economy and experience design into the world of banking and all these other industries, right? Now things start to become really interesting because now it needs to become sustainable. It needs to make sense on the bottom line. And I think that is, for me, that is interesting. Like, how can we start having those conversations? But yeah.
It's a really interesting point you bring up, I guess. So my background in experience design was I was always working for a budget provider. So I never had big amounts of money to play with. In fact, I'd be lucky if I had any money to play with.
Exactly.
So where people come in and design experiences on big budget, I learned the way I learned to do it was with no budget. And I think one of the unique things which I either bring or I can look at it differently maybe is the fact that I can scale from small to big, where a lot of people I think struggle to go from big to small. Especially with a business. So if you go to a business who has no budget and I say you, but I'm using you, not you as a person, but a lot of time they go, okay, we want this experience, but we've got no money. The first thing people go is, oh, well, we kind of need so, and I'm like, actually, you probably don't. You just got to be very, very creative with what you've got around you.
Boom. You just said it there. A few things I want to man, you gave me a fire when you speak like this, dude. So the first thing is that check out a book called The Beautiful Constraint.
Okay.
It's awesome. It talks about this. I can't remember the author, but it talks about how creativity actually happens and is better for creativity and experience design when there is constraints, right? So I remember in my ad agency days, and we also had limited budgets and we had to innovate. And we used to kick against that, but it's funny, like the lowest budget projects usually were the most creative because you had to think out the box. And then the funniest thing is that yesterday I was walking home and I was listening to Fresh Air. So I don't know if you ever listened to Fresh Air. It's a show hosted by an awesome lady called Terry Gross. Now, if I could ever be like Terry Gross interviewing people, my life would be complete, right? So she's this interviewer, and she interviews famous people all over the show. She's on NPR. It's a podcast, Fresh Air. And she was actually interviewing Howard Stern. Now, ooh. I mean, you know Howard Stern, right? He's this kind of risque shock jock. And there's a point to the story, by the way. But she was interviewing him, and apparently he was on public radio for a long time. He was like one of the most listened to individuals in the States. But while he was at these more public radio stations, they got sued a lot. He had to kind of toe the line between what is legal, what's illegal, and where he's going to what is his limits. And then at some stage he flipped over to satellite radio. So it became a subscription-based radio. So when you subscribe to the station, that meant he could do whatever he wanted. And in the conversation, he said, as soon as he flipped over to satellite radio and he had complete free reign of what he had to do, he felt inhibited.
Wow.
He felt like his creativity dropped because he actually needed those limitations to become Howard Stern. And I think it reflects back into what you just said, is that if you have too much wiggle room, you become lazy.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. There's a friend called Amy Baval. She's been on the podcast, and I think you should definitely check. She's got a book out, but she was a teacher, and kind of she talks now about kind of this restraint on creativity, and how actually what you should do is you should put creativity and time box it and go, I've got an hour to do this.
Yeah.
And it's actually by putting these restraints on that you start becoming a lot more creative. You should check. She's brilliant, Amy. She's a real.
Shoot me her details, because I think she's got a flippin' valid point. And you see this also. I mean, don't get me into design thinking workshops, because design thinking is not a workshop, right? But I mean, I've done some of these sessions where where you put time constraints on people to do certain things, and you think of like, oh shit, I'm giving 5 minutes to do this, and then in that 5 minutes, like the greatest stuff usually happens. So you can see that happen, right?
Yeah, I think a great example of this is kind of design sprints.
Oh, hell yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
as soon as you put someone in, and I use the Google of a design sprint, the Google take on it by Jake
Yeah.
Knapp, but I
Oh yeah,
guess,
Jake is a legend, dude. I haven't met him. I speak of him like he's a good mate of mine, but love him.
but it's the same. It's the same. He's I just think I think he's great in what he does, and
Yeah.
but that whole thing of time boxing, time boxing, time boxing.
Yeah. Look at it, man. It's like it's figured out. It's a what I mean, what makes the don't mean you go you're getting me going here, man. I'm gonna sound like a boring consulting guy, but I think what's beautiful about this whole idea of the design sprint is really like it's like the best of both worlds, right? It gives people like yourself and myself space to play, but it also makes corporate people who want time boxing and kind of a bit of a plan of what's going to happen feel a little bit more comfortable. So I think for me, the design sprint really makes sense. I mean, it needs to be used in the right place, right?
Yeah,
It's great for exploring ideas, and you need to be willing to accept if that kind of thing that you're testing is not gonna like comes out the way you think, but the long-term value is definitely going to be there. But yeah.
yeah. I think fundamentally that's one of the biggest things, right? Like if you come to the end of it, and you go, actually, this wouldn't work, then you probably saved yourself a lot of money in the long run.
Yeah, man. I mean, I had a guy on my show the other day. They were doing a design sprint, and the client had this hypothesis because like I mean, I'm also guilty of it. You have this kind of preconceived idea, and one of these ideas. I mean, back in my day when I was in agency, that everybody like I had a thing on my wall. Like, if you're gonna bring me a QR code, I'm gonna probably kill you. I was like the anti QR code guy. Like, if you're gonna bring me an idea with a QR code, I'm really angry. I still don't like QR codes, but anyway. So they had the same idea. Like, this client was like, guys, we should do a chatbot.
Okay.
And there's no context. Like, chatbots are great. And he took people through this whole design sprint. And at the end of the day, they actually did the tests with the audience, and they said, "Hell no, we don't want no chatbots." And in the end, it saved them a hell of a lot of money developing that. They actually went in a different direction, much smaller project, much more effective, no chatbots. And the scary thing is that he said that company would probably have invested that large sum of money to actually develop this platform, and it would have failed.
It's
Thank
crazy.
you, design sprint.
It's great, and I think it's interesting you mentioned chatbots. Actually, you got me thinking. Kind of, I'm due to do a talk in June, and by the time this goes out, I will have done it, so there'll be no spoilers. But my whole thing is kind of this flow which I've designed, and it takes human-centered design, experience design, and kind of this consumer-grade experience, and it kind of is how I kind of design my thing. But the way I've designed the experience is very much like when the people come on, we're going to engage with my Facebook chatbot, and basically the goal of the Facebook chatbot is the context is designing an onboarding experience. Yeah. So what they don't know is they're going to go through an onboarding experience prior to it. So when you look at this kind of excite and entry stage, so they're going to kind of engage with this chatbot, and they're going to be able to shape that experience. So they're going to be able to shape what I wear on the day.
Yeah,
I'm going to put them in. So this could be a unicorn onesie, a bad Hawaiian shirt, whatever they want, and then I'm going to put them in this community prior to it, and then throughout the community I'm going to drop in content before it, and then on the day we're going to address their biggest problems on how to create an onboarding experience. But I'm going to talk about these 3 different elements, and they're going to vote. So if you look at kind of how Bandersnatch was done, or Design Your Own Adventure, the books, they're going to vote on which way I'm going to go and which way I'm going to do my presentation. And it's about
Whoa, dude, that's cool. I like that. That is experience design right there. But now that kind of underlines what I'm saying, and then also underlines what the old Werner would have said about the QR code. Bring me the right idea. If the big idea suits, and what you've just explained makes sense, right? And don't get me wrong, I'm into this whole idea of conversational interfaces and how those work. In fact, I mean, I'm testing this. I don't want you to think that I'm crazy, but I'm testing this one app now, and this is kind of a whole different level. It's called WooBot. I don't know if you heard about it.
Oh yeah, yep, I know WooBot.
Yeah. So I'm testing it at the moment, but it's actually kind of like, I don't know what to think about it, because for people listening to this is like it's like a little bit of a mental health thing, but it's driven by artificial intelligence. So every morning this artificial intelligence chatbot asks you how you're feeling, and you can tick off why you feel, and in the way you respond, it actually gives you kind of advice and information and articles and that kind of stuff. It's much more exciting than the way I explain it, but I kind of testing it at the moment just to see what this is about, because I found it very interesting, like where we could go with this whole artificial intelligence thing without getting too creepy, maybe.
No, well, I think, when you look at something like Woobot, it's fantastic. I think, I use this analogy all the time of we should fish where the fish live, and we don't need to recreate a wheel. And fundamentally, our fish, if you like, our people, are heads down in the mobile devices.
Yeah.
But then I also think, I think the thing what I find with chatbots is a chatbot pretending to be a person will switch anybody off. But a chatbot pretending to, a chatbot saying, "Hey, I'm a chatbot," is different. But I think with Woobot, it's a tricky one because, this is about mental health. And I was having this conversation with a friend, Jamie Good, and he loves Woobot. He's kind of really into it. And I was like, that's great, but is Woobot stopping you from having a conversation in real life with a person?
It's funny that you bring it up like that, because I think I had a few thoughts around this, because I think the whole idea of mental health, people aren't always, I have a mate or two who's going through a bad time, right? And sometimes, you feel like you can't really talk about it because, like you don't want people to put a label on you.
Yeah.
Right. I do believe that speaking to another human being is 10 times better, and you should be doing that. But it's interesting as a stopgap what something like Woobot could do, right? Because it's filling a niche that doesn't exist. The other thing that I would say, going in the opposite direction once again, that I am worried about more than anything else, is data. So, as much as this is in quotes anonymous, you don't want this stuff to pop up, anywhere else. So I'm playing with this. I have Alexa on my home listening to all the crap I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I'm playing with all this stuff. But fundamentally, I think the thing that concerns me more than anything else is, where does all this data go?
Yeah.
What is happening to it?
Yeah.
Is it safe? And the problem is that, bringing up what Mr. Joe Pine again, he keeps on talking about mass customization, because if you want to build beautiful, immersive, personalized experiences, we need data. We need the hooks to do that, right? So it's kind of this give and take a little bit, I think.
Yeah, it definitely is. I think, voice is definitely going to be the future. I think, we're seeing that now. I think I use this analogy, and I don't know if it's true. In fact, it's not an analogy, it's my assumption. But when Google Glass come out, I don't think they ever expected Google Glass to be successful. I think they used that as to test the market. Actually, how do people feel about having this overlay? How do you feel about talking to something? What works, what doesn't work, what creeps our people out? And before you know it, a year later, we've got Google Assistants in our houses. So it's kind of like, was it a case of it was built to fail to open up a door to get a Google Assistant in? But with Alexa, have you ever you can get access to your voice recordings with Alexa? Do you know about this?
I know, yeah. I still want to. I haven't had mine for long. It's actually a friend of mine's borrowing me this crazy Alexa. I'm actually enjoying it, by the way. It's a bit more limiting than I thought.
Yeah.
But I'm actually enjoying this damn thing. But I've yet to go to Amazon to listen to what it's recorded, because I fear hearing myself going, "Show daddy your belly," that I said to my little boy, because he loves this Alexa. He refers to it as Alexa, and drags me into the room all the time to talk to it. But I'm waiting for the You remind me. I have to go and listen to what this damn thing is recorded.
It's so strange, because listening back to yourself is bizarre. I had both, but I ended up going towards the Google Assistant rather than the Alexa. I preferred it. I find it much more flexible. When you said about limitation. But yeah, it's an interesting one. It's definitely an interesting one.
Yeah, I think a lot of people say, we've had questions like my wife and I considered this crazy thing in our house, but then we were going like, what the hell? Like, we don't have big secrets to share anyway. But I think it's when you have that attitude, that's when things get a bit crazy, because like, I mean, if everybody has this in their homes and we're accepting it like it is, and man, but where do you stop, right? I mean, the other day I listened to someone talk about drones flying overhead, and the control these people have, and facial recognition and all these interesting things happening. Where does this all end?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a good question,
Yeah.
I think. The more we get so comfortable with bringing in smart tech. So, for example, I was lucky when I bought this house. I was able to wire up my house. So, Cat 6 running through the house, so everything's kind of Ethernet connected. I've got a smart home, smart thermostat, all that stuff. And, smart lighting and whatever else. For me, it's great, but there has to be a hard line at some point. And I think it'll be the first, when you get this first breach, I think that'll be the wake-up call.
Yeah. And it's bound to happen, right? So let's see what happens.
Yeah. And then
I'm gonna go try and find some way to switch your lights off when we after this call.
I guess let's change context just to get through some fire round questions.
Yeah,
So
let's do this.
if you was to give a gift of a book to a child, what book would you give?
Man, now you caught me off guard. To a child?
Yeah. In fact, let's do it this way. Let's change that question. If you used to give a gift of a book to 5 people, what book would you give? It doesn't need to be to a child.
Oh, okay. So I mean, I definitely there's my 2 go-to books that I go to when I go to events and I talk to people, and we talk about experience economy and experience design. But I'll go for the second one because I know the first one is The Power of Moments by Chip and Dan Heath. That is a good one. Like, it's like light reading, gives you kind of a feel of what this whole idea of experience design is about. So I always recommend that to people to go check out.
Yeah, their framework is epic. I think they don't like using the word epic, but it's kind of, that's what we talk about, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great book. Great book.
Yeah. It's like a real simple. I mean, it's kind of, you can apply it in your UX space, and it's really like easy to get going. I mean, also, I've been involved with the guys from the Event Design Handbook, and we also like refer some of the event designers to go check out this book as well as a kind of a additional reference.
Okay.
So experience economy, of course, is one of for me at the moment, right? I mean, one of the big books that I think, I don't know how you felt, but for me it's a heavy read, right? I mean, Joe doesn't mess around. He gets into the details, he gets into frameworks, but it really, I mean, it's stood the test of time. So that's definitely one of the books that I always recommend to people to check out as well.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Joe's book, I said, we was having a conversation, I think he's due to release the next edition, or maybe he already has. And I was saying, even if you pick the old edition up from when it very first, was launched, I think it was, I want to say 99, I might be making that up. But even if you pick that up now, it's still ahead of its curve, even now.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really come to fruition yet, right? So, yeah, I think they're still ahead of their time. I mean, of course, the thing is, I mean, I don't want people listening to this to think like, oh, we just like thinking I think what Joe also appreciates is the fact that you challenge some of the things that he writes about.
Yeah.
But the thing is, what I like is that the more I challenge it, the more I feel like it aligns with where my thinking also sits, and then it groups things for me within the idea of experience design very nicely. So it really makes sense to me.
Completely agree. Okay. So these questions can be aimed at personal, professional, and they can be quick fire rounds or deep ones. But I guess the next question, what has been your favourite double negative? And what I mean by that is, what's been the biggest thing, what's happened to you where you felt like it was a negative moment, but actually it's ended up being one of the biggest positives happening to you?
Man, that's a good one. I have to think about this.
Yeah, it's with stuff like this, it's always.
Wow. So I mean, shit. So I mean, this is a story. So a few years ago, I think it's about 6 years ago, I'm an avid motorcyclist. So one of the things that I brought to Poland was my motorcycle, because I ride motorcycles like a crazy man. It's the best way to get meditation done for me.
Okay.
I was also really lucky because in South Africa, we had this, the UN come to us. I was really involved with the Harley Davidson community there. and the UN approached us, UN Women actually, and they invited us on a 15-day. It was like, I think, 2 or 3 weeks tour. So what they wanted to do is they wanted to get a bunch of guys on Harley Davidsons to go through the southern half of Africa. So, I mean, if you look at South Africa, we basically went across the border and did all the southern tip countries. So it's from Namibia, Botswana, Zimbabwe, through to Malawi, and then into Mozambique. So we did this trip with 15 riders. We were on bikes. It was super tough. I mean, I'm a scrawny little asshole, and I was with all these really hardcore bikers going through all these countries talking about, because the focus was really about showing that these bikers, men, we do not lift our hands to women. We respect women. So we had a lot of conversations. We drove awareness of that. But as this journey unfolded in Mozambique, I had a massive accident. I actually hit a pothole, came off the motorcycle, and it wasn't a good experience at all. I had people phoning from South Africa. Luckily, I was fine, but the bike was completely totaled.
Wow.
And then, I mean, that for me was a negative. But then what turned it into positive is a good mate of mine, Jeff Simmons, to this day, also a great friend of mine. He actually decided, like, Werner's not going to end his race or his journey there. And he took his personal motorcycle, got it on a trailer, and sent it from Johannesburg to Mozambique for me to go pick up. And 2 days later, I was back on the motorcycle again to continue and to finish my trip with the boys. And it was a beautiful journey. I think it had its impact when we did it. But also from a friendship perspective, how my mate actually got me out of trouble, man, how can you forget that?
Yeah, definitely. They're the things, they're the memories what matter, right? And the kind
Exactly.
of the times
Positive
when
memory
yeah.
of a bad thing.
Yeah, it's a weird one, right? Because, there are the times when you expect your friends to step in, and it's always good when we do that.
Exactly.
You've picked the right people.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of these things where you don't expect it, where your mates actually come to your rescue, right? Where it's like a really bad moment and you work through it. Man, good times.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Next fire question. So we'll go do a fire one and then a deep one. So fire question: if you buy a billboard outside a stadium, and 1 million people are going to empty that stadium in, and the first thing they're going to see is your billboard. What message do you put on that billboard for 1 million people to see?
Life's too short to be mediocre.
Okay. And why that one?
It's been a mantra of mine, and also been drilled into my brain by people like John Hunt from TBWA, the ad agency that I was in. And was kind of driving, like, dude, like, you only live once. And I think also this is sometimes something we forget is that, I mean, it doesn't matter your religion or whatever, the time we have now is limited, and you really have to push hard. So I think we all have to live up to our potential, and this is it. You only have a little bit of time left to do this, so why not make it awesome?
I love it. I'm fired. I'm ready to go. So,
I mean, after this, I'm going to go sit on the couch and drink a glass of wine. I mean, but tomorrow, I promise you, it won't be mediocre.
So I guess, okay, this is a deep question, and you can take this however you like. Okay. So, do you even like yourself?
You know what? That's a tough one, and that's the thing that I struggle with a lot. Is is this introspection of liking yourself, because I think it's important that you do. And for me, it's up and down. Sometimes I think, Vanna, you're on point, but then sometimes I listen to myself. I'm going like, you're such a damn asshole. So, for example, two examples. The one is that in the beginning of this year, I actually took a photo of an ear and I put it on my phone to remind me to listen to people more. Stop flapping your yap.
Wow.
And actually, if I can really sit down and focus on the people around me, it'll reach me a little bit more. And yeah, so, I mean, I don't know if the ear has worked, right? Because I think I've done a lot of talking in the last a few minutes, but there's a focus. I think that's the way that I'm trying to better myself, to understand myself better. and yeah, it's been tough, being in a new community where I have to settle in. Um, but yeah, I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
Okay, okay, that's good. I like the idea. It reminds me of there was a campaign a couple of years ago, and it's about over here in the UK you can't drive while on a mobile phone. And there was a campaign where males and females would paint their thumbnail like
Hmm.
with nail polish, and they were saying it kind of takes you out of context to see, people was using the phones because it become this behaviour habit while
Yeah,
driving, and it's actually you need to change that habit and you need to see something different, and it's kind of that kind of nudge to take you out of context and go, I'm
yeah,
driving, I should be using my phone, and I like the idea of that. Actually,
yeah.
it's great.
And I see it every day, and I'm going like, damn it, I forgot. But it kind of reminds you, right? Get you in that kind of flow of things.
Yeah, no, definitely. So I guess some of my audience are from a kind of learning background. Well, most of the audience come from a corporate and learning and development background, employee experience, all the good stuff.
Yeah.
So I guess one of the questions which I've got for you, Caleb, is kind of what do you think, when it comes to kind of big large corporates, what do you think the barrier is for them, to kind of not bring in immersive experiences, and why do you think that is?
I mean, I think it's twofold, right? So I think you, some of the resistance I've found is that, well, maybe the first thing is that people don't understand what immersive experiences mean. So, what we have, and the way I explain this is that we're looking at time well spent and time well saved. So, those kind of the two juxtapositions, right? So, what we're doing in corporates and in banks and these kind of things is we're focusing on time well saved. So, experiences are being optimized. So, the less time you spend with a brand, the better. And what I'm saying here is it's not bad to do that, right? I don't want to be spending 2 hours on my banking app, but I feel personally that we are focusing too much on time well saved. There's no focus on time well spent. Now, when you start stepping into the world of time well spent, now it gets tricky. Um, you just ask me, do I like myself? I think some corporates are nervous to ask, does my clients, my customers actually like my brand and what I stand for, what I do?
Hmm.
Um, what are they sacrificing to actually be part of my business? And I think those are scary questions. I think that's one of the reasons that we resist to step into that idea of immersive experiences. The other thing I would say is that I think, and this is a challenge for us as experience designers. I think when you walk into a boardroom, and I'm really empathetic to a lot of the CEO types that I've met. I mean, yeah, I've met one or two assholes, but I think there's some really mature, interesting people out there who run big ships. I don't want to be them because it's a lot of responsibility. But we as designers need to explain to them and show them the value of immersive experiences. And it doesn't necessarily always relate to the monetary value, but we need to explain this to people better, rather than just flouting, okay, this is user centered design, this is what it's about. We need to start speaking the CEO's language. And then I think the other thing that I also think about a lot is that there's these two layers, right? So the one is building experiences, going beyond the service, going into building immersive experiences, but then there's also building transformational experiences. And I had this thought around transformational experiences where, you know, if you want someone to have a transformational experiences, that might not belong to one brand alone or to one company alone. And to build an end-to-end experience for someone, it might constitute combining a whole bunch of different smaller experiences together. And I mean, at the moment, businesses are very siloed. So how are we going to get businesses to work together? Because, I mean, how can I give you an example of what I'm waffling on about? So, I mean, I'm using an Apple MacBook now, right? And I mean, they've locked me into the ecosystem, but I'm not only engaging with Apple. I'm engaging with a whole bunch of other companies, from Lidl, the shop down the road, all these other things. How can we build an immersive experience that incorporates all these things together? I think that's big challenges for people to focus around. So yeah, that's part of the noise that is going on in my brain.
And I think it's a great shout. I guess maybe because of them, and I'm going to use the maturity of this at the moment and where it's at in its growth and kind of where it's going. Have you got any kind of examples where in the past you've used immersive experiences with clients, maybe within your past with Deloitte or the stuff what you're doing now? Is there anything you can share?
So for me, I mean, most of my career has been focusing on time well saved. So I mean, I could probably explain. I mean, there's two examples that I usually use when I think about experience or immersive experiences. So the one is fundamentally my playground, because I work with the guys. I'm part of the design team. It's the College of Extraordinary Experiences. So for the last, I mean, we're going into year 4 now. That is really the canvas where we build this sandpit within this castle and create experiences for people to actually lock themselves into this castle, into this world, and connect with each other for 4 days. So that is the one example. And then, I reflect a lot on my time when I was at ad agencies. Like you said earlier, we built experiences without realizing we built experiences. But probably the one that jumps to mind for me that I remind is that I was lucky enough to work on the Adidas campaign when we had the World Cup in South Africa. Now, if you remember correctly, Adidas isn't an official World Cup sponsor, but we had to they were sponsoring the South African football team, so we had to do a campaign without mentioning the World Cup, because they didn't have the rights to mention the World Cup directly. They could only mention the South African football team. So I was working with this team, and we came up with this idea. Well, the team, I can't take any credit for this, is that we're going to send a giant football jersey. Now, this jersey was as big as a football pitch, because the big idea was that we wanted to shift the premise from people signing or the players signing someone's jersey. We wanted the fans to sign a player's jersey. So we created this big ass player jersey, and we rolled it up into a giant truck and sent it all around the country with fanfare, with music. We had all kinds of mobile things happening. It was a fanfare. We had, it's before his death, Nelson Mandela also signed the shirt. So we took the World Cup in that little small way to everybody, to a lot of people who could actually not be at the World Cup. And they felt part of it by just signing this giant freaking jersey. So that's one that it sounds kind of really like advertising fluffy, but it's really one that stuck in my mind as something that really took an experience that probably excluded a few people and actually made it something that is accessible for a lot of other people through a brand.
I think what that is, that shows kind of, your experiential marketing and kind of that background and how that's the kind of stuff. I love experiential marketing in general. And when we talked earlier about, inclusivity versus exclusivity, you have brought a community together for that. And I think,
Everybody.
How powerful is.
Yeah, you can see even now in the news, like South Africa at the best of times can sometimes be a bit of a, as South Africans, we're always at odds with each other. And during that time, when no one cared about what the hell we're going to go sign the jersey and support our boys, So, that's something that I'm really proud of and I can think of. And at the time, I wasn't thinking of like we're creating any experiences on here. We were just creating something.
Yeah. It's really interesting, and it kind of leads me to my follow-up question, I guess, which is, we see the cool stuff what's happening with the College of Extraordinary Experiences, and we see, Joe Pine doing his experience economy kind of, certification, and we look at kind of things like Meow Wolf and Museum of Ice Cream, and over here we have something called Punch Drunk. What do you think? What do you think is the future of immersive experiences?
And this is where I'm going to step off your probably a question a little bit and sidestep it a little bit, and I want people to avoid it. But if I have to talk about immersive experiences, I think my humble comment would be is that And I think Joe's spoken about it as well. Is there's two key things here: is to hyper personalize. So there is still experiences out there that I go and participate, but it doesn't. I mean, I am allowed to be part of it, so I am a participant, but that it doesn't really take into account who I am as Werner. Like, what is my context? How do I come into this? And that comes back to this whole idea of mass customization and hyper, customizing something for an experience. So that I think that we're going to dive. And of course, there is experiences out there that really already tap into this, but I think there's going to be a move to dive even deeper. And then the other thing is, and I think Muirwolf has kind of been one of the front runners for me personally, because what's the guys that I know, is that repeatability of experiences. So lots of times with experiences, I mean, I have some good mates in Amsterdam who have a brilliant kind of escape room experience, Sherlock.
Okay.
And the thing is, I think they're the number one escape room in Amsterdam or in the Netherlands.
Wow.
Correction there. And, you play the escape room once, and it's awesome, right? But how can you now repeat that? So, I mean, they have to now, the escape room itself is not their only piece of business, but so they have to all the time look for new customers, right? So there is no replay. Where if, for example, Muirwolf's experience, the original one, I mean, you can go there on day one, you can go through it and you can have an experience and you can do all kinds of stuff, but it doesn't mean that you found the whole storyline. That means you go back, right? So I think I kind of answered that one. And why I said in the first thing, I wanted to sidestep you a little bit. The thing that I'm super interested in, and I am by no means knowledgeable about this at all, is the idea of transformational experiences. And and Joe also uses the term. So when you think about experiences, on one side, it needs to be staged. But when you think about transformational experiences, and we tap into this a little bit in the college, is that it needs to be coached. So, I mean, I don't know if you've explored the whole. I mean, you actually probably know more about coaching than I do, but my limited knowledge of coaching is coaching is not about forcing someone to do something or creating something for someone. It's more about giving someone space to explore, asking the right questions, allowing people to express themselves and guide them. So I'm quite interested in where that's going to go. Not that I have all the answers around that at all, but I think that is ultimately where the whole idea of experience and transformation experiences is going to move into. And also what I want to say also, sorry, and I'm rambling, I just wanted to make this clear, is that it's not that I'm excluding anything else. I mean, all these things build into each other, right? It evolves. It's not now that I'm throwing anything else out the door, but I think it's kind of evolving into this.
No, I think it's interesting you mentioned the coaching. There's a guy a friend of mine, Charlie Heenan. I can never pronounce his surname. I'm shocking with names. But yeah, Charlie, my mate, he works for performance coaching, and he's all about this kind of immersive experience within coaching.
There we have it.
Yeah, it's interesting to bring that. I mean, Meow Wolf, I've tried to get people on here, but I don't really know anybody from Meow Wolf to get them on here. But I'd love to know, kind of their take on that, because it's that great storytelling, that narrative aspect to Meow Wolf. And you can, it's like you say, you can go through Meow Wolf probably 3 or 4 times. And I've never personally been myself, but I'm assuming every time you can go through that and kind of get this different experience, different.
I mean, I haven't done it myself, right? And I encourage people to go check out the videos and see these people. But I was lucky enough to meet these guys. I'll actually try and get you a contact but I think they're notoriously hard to get hold of. I mean, Paul might also be able to help you, because it'd be great for you to also have a conversation with them, because they have a different perspective on things too, right? But I mean, I spoke to someone else the other day. I feel like I'm repeating myself, but for me, it's really interesting, is that we had to sit down with Mia Wolf at the castle, and they did like a little bit of immersive experience there, and they started talking about their venue in the business, and they mentioned that they actually have a hidden narrative inside the experience. So there's a story there, but they don't make it explicit. So it's not like you have to go step by step and try and figure out the story. but there's certain depth to the story, so you can follow the narrative in a certain way. That means that you can come back and play again. You can explore more. And for some people, they would never even know that there was a story in the first place, which makes it even more beautiful. But then also, I have to drop this in because I'm an ex-Deloitte guy, is that when I listen to them, they had all this creative side and all this planning, and like they're really passionate about their art, but damn, they know their business too, right? So they, on the one hand, they also spoke about like investment and value for the customers, pricing, salaries, HR, all these kind of things, and it just beautifully fit together. And I think that is why they are doing so well at the moment, because I think they have that wholesome kind of approach to doing this business.
Well, I think we have that, and we have the unique snowflake element at the moment as well. You
Yeah.
know, there's kind of nobody who can
True,
really touch
true.
them at the moment. You know, you can go through Meow Wolf and have this kind of aesthetic kind of experience if you want, and you can have this Instagram moments and take pictures, or you can go through the narrative and go through the story and kind of be immersed and completely taken out of the real world. I just think it's very, very unique. You know, I think when I look at the nearest thing to that over here is Punch Drunk. Have you heard of them?
I've heard about it, but I'm not sure. Can you explain a little bit?
Yeah, so they do a lot of immersive theatre. They do a lot of production for kind of. Have you heard of Darren Brown at all?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So they do a lot of production for Darren Brown.
Oh, okay.
I'm doing a design masterclass with them at the beginning of June.
Shit. Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that. But it's kind of like they kind of design. We've done some great immersive theatre shows. I think they even did an immersive theatre for just 2 people, and it's
You
just
can't go wrong, man. This whole idea of like theater and immersive theater and improv and these kind of things, man, it's super interesting. I'm a bit jealous, I must admit.
it's so cool. So I'm gonna try and see if I can get them on a podcast while I'm down there. I'll be sharing what I've learned and stuff like that. So that's definitely a given.
So keep on listening. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, hell yeah, definitely. Okay, so let's just wrap this up because I want to be mindful of your time. So I guess, you know, we haven't touched upon the College of Extraordinary Experiences, and I don't want to give it away too much. We've got Paul on, and we've got Klaus coming on as well.
Yeah.
And you know, Paul was very kind of keen on not giving away too much because we like, you know, I say we, like I'm part of the people, but we
You are
like,
part of the family, man.
but we like to kind of, you know, keep it surrounded in secrecy and stuff, and it adds to it, which I completely get. So maybe we'll give that one a miss.
Yeah, but don't worry. Like I'm also sworn to secrecy, so I'm not allowed to say anything. But it's a beautiful immersive event, where you get to connect with a whole bunch of like-minded people, co-create in a Polish castle. And I think I'll just leave it there.
That's beautiful, perfect. So let's go right full circle then. So
Good stuff.
then when I asked you at the beginning, kind of, you know, when you want to grow up, you know, when you was in school and they'd ask you when you want to grow up, and you said like a trash man and a police officer or a copper. Actually, you know, we never stop growing, we never stop developing, and we never stop changing. So if I was to ask you this question now, what do you want to be when you grow up? What would you say now?
You see, the thing is, it's funny. Like I've been asked this question before, and my answer has been, and I think it still aligns, is that, and it's going to sound a little bit like a pompous asshole, but I'm going to say it anyway, as mentor. At the moment now, where I want to go is I want to share what I know, and I don't know everything yet, so I need to get a lot more knowledge in. But for me, what we spoke about also during the podcast is like sharing, helping other people grow. That is, I think, where I want to be. That is what I want to. If I sit on my old chair, rocking forward and backwards, and I look back, that's hopefully what I've achieved.
Perfect, beautiful. Right at the very beginning, I asked you to pick 4 numbers.
Man, and can you remember those? Because I can't.
Oh yes, I can. Of course, I can. So,
The all-seeing eye.
the good, yeah, this is it. The good thing is these 4 numbers what you picked tally up to some random items on my iPad here. And
Right.
and this is just creative. You can do whatever you want with this.
Okay.
But your 4 numbers gave you these 4 objects. You've got a rubber duck, a tyre swing, a spring, just a metal spring, and an iPad charger. You're on a desert island, and these are the 4 objects you've got. What are you going to do with them?
Okay, so I'll attach the iPad charger to the tire, drop it in the water, sit in the water, holding the duck, and watching the sun go down.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
I forgot to use the spring though, but that's on the side there.
I mean, to be honest, I just pictured that, so I forgot all about the spring as well.
Yeah. No, I just thinking like, damn, man, because that's the other thing is I don't think we take enough time to enjoy nature and these kind of things. I thought, damn, when you say like Lost Island, we're like, that would be like heaven.
So I mean, look, Werner, Werner, I really, really appreciate this conversation. I've enjoyed it. But where can people go to find out a little bit more about you and the stuff what you're up to?
So, if people want to hunt me down, because I love to connect with people, and even if they want to tell me like, Werner, this is like you have to get your shit together, you can find me on LinkedIn, Werner Puchert. If you are a Twitter person, you can find me at Wiener Dog, and that's a whole different story why it's Wiener Dog.
Oh.
And then I'm also on Goodreads because I try and read a little bit more. So people can also hunt me down on Goodreads. I also love to connect with people there and see what they're reading.
Awesome. Well, yes, it's been an absolute pleasure. And
Dude,
yeah.
this is, I mean, I can't say enough. There was a great conversation. Best way to spend a Friday with a human being who's doing some great work, dude. Thank you very much.
You enjoy the rest of the evening. Thanks very much.
Cool. See you later, man. Ciao.